Hey everyone, and welcome back. In honor of Avengers Age of Ultron coming out on Blu-ray this Friday, I'm going to be ranking the Marvel movies from worst to best. I hope this goes without saying, but there may be some minor spoilers in this if you haven't seen the movies. But in that case, I hope that rock you're living under has a really nice TV because you should at least go out and rent these. Okay. Starting off our list at number 12 is Thor. And Thor is my least favorite of the Marvel movies. However, that doesn't mean that it's not an enjoyable film. The thing about Thor is that this is supposed to be the mightiest Avenger. This is actually a god. And instead of having him in this grand figure shape, I mean, he is great. I mean, come on ladies, Chris Hemsworth looks pretty good. And I have to admit that, coming straight from a dude, he's pretty good looking. Anyway though, he's supposed to be this huge figure, but we put him in a setting where it's a desolate desert town of like 1,000 people, maybe even not that many people. So we're gonna have this huge awesome warrior have a battle in a tiny town instead of this huge intergalactic world where he can fight awesome characters. And yeah, they have maybe about 10 minutes of that in the whole movie, but the climax is in that desert town. And it works fine, but it's just kind of disappointing. However, Thor did offer us the best villain so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that being Loki. Loki is fantastic. Tom Hiddleston is perfect as the villain in this role as Loki, and he really plays it well. He adds just enough evil overtone to this trickster but relatable character. Anthony Hopkins is a great character in this as well, and he plays Odin, Thor's father and the king. And it allows Chris Hemsworth to provide one of the best lines in the movie, at least in my opinion. You're an old man and a fool! Next at number 11 is The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk had Edward Norton playing Bruce Banner, and I have to admit, Edward Norton is a fantastic actor. However, I just didn't see him as Bruce Banner or the Hulk in this. Again, I saw Edward Norton acting as Bruce Banner. I didn't see Bruce Banner. Where you see Robert Downey Jr. and you just think that's Iron Man, you didn't really get that with Edward Norton. This is Marvel's second attempt in trying to make the Hulk work. The first attempt with Ang Lee's direction was just horrible. This one is a step in the right direction, but they still had to get to Mark Ruffalo's in the Avengers to really make the Hulk work. This movie is entertaining with all the Hulk smash and the action, but again, with the direction of this film just kind of similar to Edward Norton's performance, it just gets the job done. It's really just kind of a forgettable film. Coming in at number 10 is Iron Man 2. And while Iron Man 2 definitely had its moments, there was a lot of stuff that kind of misfired in this. It gives us a more convoluted story and less payoff actually with all the characters. You could kind of tell this was the first time that Marvel actually misstepped in that they were adding too much of what's coming next. They were too worried about setting characters up than actually dealing with what's going on right now in the plot. As I said before though, these stories did get more convoluted, but they're just not more interesting. We did get characters such as Black Widow, who I think is a fantastic character in the Avengers. I personally enjoy Mickey Rourke's acting, but however, I feel in that this film, he was just too over the top, and I think that he was acting in a different movie than everyone else was acting in. I don't know what he was going for, but it just kind of came off as too stereotypical and too my bird laughs at you, Tin Man. The CGI battles got shinier, but they got less emotion in the battles. It was just kind of seeing explosions to see explosions. However, whenever you have Robert Downey Jr. in the role of Tony Stark, it's really enjoyable to watch. So there is plenty of moments that make this movie quite enjoyable. It's just not up to par with the rest of the Marvel films. Alright, at number 9 we have Thor: The Dark World. I know I'm hating on the Thor movies, they're not my favorite in it. Again, I do find them enjoyable, but they're just not my favorite in the Marvel series. In this movie, the fate of the universe is at stake here. However, I just kept feeling things were so unimportant. Making matters worse is that I know the annihilation of our universe was at stake. However, I just know that Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't going to end with Thor: Dark World. There's going to be phase 3, there's probably going to be phase 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Who knows, as long as the series is making money, there's going to be more movies and people aren't going to be permanently dead. In short, I just felt the stakes were kind of hard to buy into because of this. If they might have done this later on, even in phase 3, I probably would have felt the consequences a little bit more. However, a really positive note with this film is that I kind of feel that Joss Whedon had his fingerprints all over it. I mean, the way the comedy and the drama were blended together, it was really perfect. The scene I really liked is when Thor had to take the subway station and he kind of just looks around and everyone's looking at him. He's just like, ugh, rush hour. Again, this film is a lot of fun and it does have some really cool moments. It's just kind of hard to buy into the whole consequence thing. But if you can get over that, I mean, you have to. You know there's going to be more films. It's really great. Coming in at number 8 is Iron Man 3. This movie is a great example of Marvel Cinematic Universe producers coming together with a great director. They both have their own ideas and they blend it very well. With this film, they nailed the collaboration. This has such sarcastic zine with great performances and fun action. It's really fun to see. This is very similar to the last time Robert Downey Jr. and director Shane Black actually made a movie together with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This movie is really enjoyable and actually some of the twists in this were actually surprising. I didn't see some of that coming and I know a lot of people complained about some of the twists, but I feel that Ben Kingsley's character was really great. He was really fun to watch.
I am the man, Trent. Do you really think that I sounded not like I'm from London? Because, you know, as an actor, I really...
This movie did really an amazing job of helping us delve into the psyche of Tony Stark. And what's also impressive is while they did this helping us get into the character, we got to see some of the best action we've seen in the Marvel films so far. At number 7, we have Ant-Man starring Paul Rudd. What I really appreciate about this is that while the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been expanding and keeps growing and growing, it was really nice to see a narrow-focused film. This film was definitely on a smaller scale compared to all the other films, and it actually helped because of that. Even though the stakes were lower in this one, we got to see a more personal story and we got to relate to the character instead of just seeing a cool superhero. We actually got to see a human being acting as what would happen if he was given powers. Even though he's not actually given powers, he's only given a suit, still, you get the point. With Marvel's willingness to go weird and tiny with this film, pun intended, it really paid off awesomely in seeing that this is one of the best third acts I've seen in any of the Marvel films. The director really took advantage of the unusual powers that this character has and that the unusual circumstances, and that it really created a kind of unique showdown between the villain and the hero at the end of the movie. It was a lot of fun to see. And I also have to make a note that Michael Peña's character almost stole the show from Paul Rudd and everything else in this film. He was hilarious. The way he told stories. So dude, like I was telling you, right? No, so I met my cousin Ignacio and he saw this like fly-ass girl and this girl was like, yo, you never seen this man before? Coming in at number 6 on our list is Captain America: The First Avenger. I just also like to point out that Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, has played like 25 superheroes. It is ridiculous. This guy has played Marvel heroes, he's played DC heroes, he's played independent comic heroes. He's done a lot of heroes. However, I really feel that his role is Captain America and he owns it. I really felt that First Avenger was really well done in that it actually was kind of a nice change of pace from the cynical modern age that we're in. This was just an old-time story, or actually an old-fashioned story, where we see a superhero who's off to fight the big evil, and he's a do-gooder, he knows what's right, he knows what's wrong, and he's just gonna help with his powers to save people. That's all the story was. It's a basic story. I feel that Captain America is one of the most fleshed out characters in the Marvel Universe. We get to see an amazing background with him. We also get to see his transformation from this character into a modern day hero. Another great thing about this film is that I feel that the romantic interest and then romantic relationship set up was actually earned. We got to see them from the beginning of a relationship, we got to see their turmoils, we got to see their endearments, and it actually helped pay off. And it's still paying off in the new Avengers and with the shows they have going on right now. The tragic separation of them at the end of the movie really was heartfelt, and I actually felt emotional watching that. At number 5, we have Avengers: Age of Ultron. This movie had a lot to like in it. They had some awesome, extravagant battles, and they also had some really funny one-liners. Language. As always, Joss Whedon does a wonderful job with an ensemble cast and making us enjoy each character fully. This movie is a bloated mess, and that's not Joss Whedon's fault. There's just so many characters in this and so many different plot lines and so much setup for the next phase. It's just, there was so much going on. At times it felt less like an Avengers movie and more like a setup movie at times, but it was still a lot of fun. I mean, Hawkeye was so enjoyable. In the first Avengers, I was like, he was so lame. What is up with this dude? He's just a zombie, does what everybody wants. But in this movie, he really did shine. He had some great action scenes and he was hilarious. And the best part of everything is he actually ran out of arrows. It was realistic. I know everyone complains about Marvel's villains, and rightfully so, but I felt Ultron was a little harshly criticized when it came out. He's actually a pretty decent villain. He is menacing at times, and he does have some fun humor, and I feel that's what makes villains great, is that villains that are also very scary, but funny. Another thing is that after I saw Evan Peters' Quicksilver, I was a little worried about Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver, but he was actually really funny. The accent was a little much at times, though.
Do you say in America, you didn't see that coming?
At number 4, we have the original Iron Man. And this is higher on my list because this really did help the Marvel Cinematic Universe get kicked off. A really great thing about this film is that this film came out when there were so many angsty superheroes. We had X-Men, we had Spider-Man, we had all of those. But we actually got a superhero who loved being a superhero in this. It was just a lot of fun to see. We had the AC/DC soundtrack, we had just Tony Stark doing whatever he wanted to do, blowing stuff up, showing he was a BAMF when he wanted to be. He was really smart. I did not like the climax that much, but Jeff Bridges is a great actor and he really did prove to be a great villain as well. This film started the Marvel formula that we know and love today. Third on our list is Marvel's The Avengers, and this movie was everything we wanted. Joss Whedon perfectly blended all our favorite characters, our favorite villain, and added interesting character development and awesome actions and explosions. This is what we wanted from the Avengers movie, and it actually came to fruition under Joss Whedon's direction. I cannot thank him enough for actually making this movie and pulling it off. Before this film, it was almost crazy to imagine the ambition that Marvel had to make this movie. However, this movie really solidified Marvel's Cinematic Universe and also added so many crazy new possibilities with it. That's what this film really did great. It took what we've already learned about the characters and what we loved about them, played that out, and then opened up a whole new universe for us. Coming in at number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie is just fun. That's all the way to explain it. It finally took away from Earth where we see all our other heroes and it made this an intergalactic universe. And they did it so well. This was seen as a risk because we had no famous characters that we've seen before, but they really pulled it off. Chris Pratt really had the charisma, an amazing leading man, and all his supporting characters were great. I mean, even Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel in this, but we never saw their faces, and Vin Diesel even only had one line, but it was amazing. The villain in this wasn't up to par to our heroes, but he was still a lot of fun to see and added a great character as well. This movie really showed how far the Marvel Cinematic Universe formula could stretch. I mean, we had the realism kind of out the window with this, but it was still real enough that we got to enjoy the characters on a personal level. This movie had an amazing soundtrack as well. It was a lot of fun to listen to throughout the movie. Guardians of the Galaxy provided us with lovable characters, witty banter, and a lot of fun action sequences. This movie is Marvel at the peak of its game. And now, at number 1, we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was a beautifully done paranoid thriller that asked questions not only of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but actually the world we're living in today. This actually helped the movie resonate with the audience. And while to say this film has a lot of darker moments, it does blend out plenty of humor in this. This movie also boasts Marvel's best action sequences. Captain America is smart, it's funny, it's dark, and it blends so many things well together. This is Marvel at its finest. This is the best Marvel movie thus far. Alright guys, that was my list of worst to best Marvel movies and a quick summary about each of them. As always, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and comment down below. I'd really love to hear your guys' list and what you think of each Marvel movie. Thanks!